So I need you to start putting yourself first and fill your own cup. And I promise you that people will get attracted without the need to please or bribe them into liking you, because you're worth so much more than that. You're worth more than pleading and bribing someone to like you, to enjoy you, to accept you, to make you feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. What is up, my dear friends, and welcome back to another episode of Honey, I'm Home. Honey, I'm Home is a podcast that's going to help you to rebuild a home within your own heart so that you can create happiness within your own heart and home. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to break free from people pleasing. This is a topic that I have spent many, many hours and perhaps even years on at this point, discovering the traits of a people pleaser. And there's one thing that I know to be true if you're a people pleaser, and it's that you fight to be seen, heard, appreciated, valued, and loved. And in doing so, you lose yourself in the process of trying to care for somebody else to care for you. And what you lose is you lose yourself because you're focusing on them, and they don't give you what you believe you need. You meet all of their needs. You show up for them, but by the end of it, you feel completely drained. And you feel bad to ask them to fulfill your own needs. And it's like this never-ending cycle of not feeling good enough. And I've come to learn that I believe that we oftentimes please people because we fear being rejected and abandoned. You know, you never learn that your own needs are just as important as everyone else's. And you are very good at caring for others. But today's the day that we can begin to take better care of ourselves so that we have genuine happiness. So if you want to stick around to the very end, I'm going to be uncovering the 3 different ideas that are going to help you to break free from people pleasing. Because I'm telling you, people pleasing is one of those things that will cause you to feel burnout. It will cause you to feel frustrated. It'll cause you to feel increased levels of stress and anxiety. It'll cause you to feel this emotional exhaustion. It'll cause you to feel resentment. It'll cause you to lose your sense of identity. And I think, honestly, if you were the person that was broken up with, you probably feel like you lost yourself. You gave your entire self away and recreated who you were as an individual, all in the name of love. But then we lost them, and in doing so, we lost ourselves. Because everything that we were, everything that we built within their own heart. And I'm going to help you begin to understand the hidden costs of people pleasing, and then give you some big ideas on how you can break free from people pleasing so that you can increase your levels of self-worth, self-esteem, and happiness. But before we dive into today's episode, my dear friend, I have a very special offer for the first 50 people that decide to join. Listen, I just came out with a new community called Happy Heart Academy Inner Circle. Now, this Inner Circle group is designed for those who have questions that they need answers to. And the reason why I decided to create this community is simply because I have thousands of people in my DMs that I just can't get back to. And I oftentimes feel taken advantage of because I give the answer, then I never hear from them again. And it's like, I know I don't have enough time to be able to just spend sitting, scrolling through my DMs, answering and holding conversations. And although your conversations and questions are super important, if you've been a long-time listener, and if you're one of the first 50 people that sign up to the Happy Heart Academy Inner Circle, you'll be locked in at a low price of $4.99 per month to be a part of the community. Now, being a part of the community, you're going to get access to community members. You're going to get access to multiple different ebooks, like the Walk Back to Happiness ebook. Like if you're struggling to create a breakthrough after a breakdown, you're going to learn the exact 7 steps that's going to catapult your life forward. You're also going to get access to courses. You're going to get access to worksheets, workbooks, my personal book, and the best-selling book, the big 3, where I teach you how to rebuild a relationship with yourself and so much more. So if you want access to that, I'm going to put the link in the show notes below. And like I said, for the first 50 people that sign up in this brand new community, you're going to get it for $4.99. And then everything after that, the price will go up. So hope to see you on the inside, because I'm going to hold live weekly calls. I'm going to hold live monthly seminars. I'm going to invite other experts inside of this community as it continues to grow and evolve, and also just daily updates. So if you're interested in that, be sure to click the link below. And now on to today's episode on how we can begin to break free from people pleasing. My dear friends, in a world where social approval and fitting in seems to be paramount, important, it seems to be that people pleasing is one of those things that have become a silent epidemic. While being considerate of others is a commemorable and commendable trait, consistently putting other people before yourself will lead you to your greatest downfall. And damn, have I struggled with that. Have I struggled to try to put myself first? Have I struggled to meet my own needs? Like, I felt like I've always been good with taking care of other people, but when it comes to taking care of myself, I'm like, who do I fall short? Like, when I don't hit my expectations, when I don't show up congruently, when I don't do the very things that I know I should do, that I just allow myself not to do, that eats away at my self-esteem and my self-belief and my self-confidence. But let me tell you, if I give someone else my word, I promise you that I'll show up. But when it comes to the relationship with myself, I rarely do. Hell, I hardly even know my own needs. What are my needs? What are my wants? What are my desires? But let me tell you, if you were to ask me what my wife's needs, wants, desires, hopes, and dreams are, I could list every single one of them, because she's that important to me. Which then makes me question, am I that important to me? Well, the answer is yes. But at the same time, I will put up with a lot more chaos and, disappointment toward myself than I will giving that to somebody else. And we, in this episode together, are going to own and lead ourselves back to happiness. We're going to allow ourselves to understand ultimately the hidden costs of people pleasing, and then come up with a couple big ideas here that I believe that have helped me, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Because if I don't do these things, I feel like I'm oftentimes completely and emotionally exhausted. And I'm sure you know the feeling, because that's who we are as people pleasers. And, before I dive into the hidden cost of what it costs of being a people pleaser, I want to help you understand something. I was in a conversation with one of my clients, and we got on the topic of, well, have you ever considered yourself a people pleaser? And they were like, no, not really. I'm like, are you sure? Because a people pleaser is someone with a tendency to go out of their own way to ensure other people are happy, often at the expense of their own needs and desires. Their behavior can stem from a variety of sources, including a desire for approval, fear of rejection, or a deep-seated insecurity. While it may seem benign or even like a surface-level problem, chronic people-pleasing can have far-reaching negative effects. And when we focus on pleasing other people, it can oftentimes cause us to lose sight of our true selves. In the pursuit of trying to love them, or in the sight of trying to get them to love us and to like us, we lose ourselves in the process. And before we know it, when we have come to a location where we feel like we've lost ourselves, in that very moment, you should realize that if you've lost yourself, you have nothing else to give to that person. And that's why this type of relationship style never works. We become less interesting. We put other people's wants, needs, and desires first, and you'd think that that would keep them around, but it really isn't. You can only give what you have. You can't give to someone what you don't have. And if you've exhausted your entire self and you have nothing left to give, it's going to be hard to keep them in your life for a forever time frame. First, and fill your own cup. And I promise you that people will get attracted without the need to please or bribe them into liking you, because you're worth so much more than that. You're worth more than pleading and bribing someone to like you, to enjoy you, to accept you, to make you feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. And I don't know if you've been told that before, but like I said prior to this, is that, people pleasing is the tendency to go out of your own way to ensure other people are happy, often at your own expense, needs, and desires. And there's a dark hidden cost when you go to sacrifice yourself and not get your needs met in return. The first big hidden cost is the emotional exhaustion that you're going to face. If you're constantly catering to others, it can oftentimes leave you feeling completely drained and depleted. Your emotional vitality and aliveness and energy force is very finite. It's very finite, it's very small, it can easily get consumed by others. Have you ever heard of the concept life suckers? They suck the life out of you? Well, I've had a couple of those people in my life where I could give, and it was never enough. And it exhausted me. And it caused me to feel that emotional exhaustion burnout at a very young age. I couldn't understand why I felt so tired, burnout, and fatigued all the time until I realized that all my time's focused on trying to get other people to like me, appreciate me, value me, make me feel seen, heard, valued, appreciated, loved, significant. And there came a time in the year 2015 when I realized that my people that I put into my life are not responsible to make me feel happy. I am the person who's responsible to make me feel happy. So if you constantly feel like emotionally exhausted, it's probably because you're a constant people pleaser. You go out of your own way to ensure other people to be happier and better, but often at the expense of your own needs and desires. The second big hidden cost here is that you oftentimes lose a sense of your self-identity. And this is one of the worst things that I think people can experience, is when you consistently prioritize others' needs and you may lose touch with your own desires and preferences, your own values, self-worth, and self-esteem. And over time, this can lead to a diminished sense of self and a lack of direction in life. So if you feel directionless, it's because you're too worried about what other people think of you. You're trying to get people to like one more of your posts. You're trying to get people to see that you hold significance in the social media hemisphere. You're trying to get people to see that how you show up on a day-to-day basis as the happy-go-lucky person that you might be is being overlooked, and you feel completely exhausted. Listen, your loss of identity stems from when you give too much of yourself away to others and not enough time taking care of you. So I've experienced emotional exhaustion where I feel completely depleted, like I don't have anything else to give. Like when I found myself earlier in life surrounding myself with the wrong group of people, and I would go home and try to give my love away, I didn't really have the energy to give it away because I focused too much on the wrong people who wouldn't fill my own needs, wants, and desires. They weren't conscious of it, or they didn't care. Another big hidden cost here, my dear friend, is that oftentimes you'll feel increased stress and anxiety. And boy, oh boy, if you know anything about me, I deal with high levels of stress and anxiety on a daily basis. Not so much anxiety, but definitely stress. I put myself in a high performance mindset where I feel like I have to go, accomplish everything, and everything needs to be solved tomorrow or yesterday. Everything needs to be solved within 24 hours. And if it isn't, my world feels like it's ending. The pressure to always please others can lead to heightened levels of stress and anxiety. The fear of disappointing others or not meeting their expectations creates this constant state of tension. Do you know what I mean? That tension in your upper neck, maybe in your jawline, maybe in your back blades, in all of those different locations. You can figure out that if you feel tension all throughout your day, you might be a people pleaser. So if you have felt emotionally exhausted and you feel like you've lost your sense of self-identity, you feel increased levels of stress and anxiety, or maybe you feel resentment and burnout because you're suppressing your own needs, wants, and desires, which lead to many different feelings of resentment. And over time, this resentment can build up and manifest as burnout, impacting both your mental and physical health, then you might be a people pleaser. So these are some big indicators to help you understand if you're a people pleaser. And if you raised your hand for even one of these, please check yourself, because you got to make sure that you're checking in on you and making sure that you're okay. Because if you don't check in on you and make you feel loved, appreciated, valued, seen, heard, my dear friend, who is? Who's taking care of you if you're not willing to take care of you? There's a quote, and I might butcher it, but it basically said something like, the way that you treat yourself is teaching other people how to treat you, right? So how do you treat yourself? Is it with respect? Is it with love? Is it with kindness? Is it with grace? Because if it isn't, oftentimes what you're doing is you're teaching other people how to treat you based upon how you're treating yourself. Don't forget that. So listen, out of the 4 that I've talked about today, of the hidden costs of people pleasing, emotional exhaustion, loss of self-identity, increased stress levels and anxiety levels, and resentment and burnout, I, in my life, have had all of these at once. So am I a people pleaser? Oh yeah. Am I a recovering people pleaser? Oh yeah. And oftentimes, as a recovering people pleaser, I've realized, I still fight with it today. If I stand up for myself, I feel like I'm doing somebody else wrong. I feel like I'm going to be their enemy. I feel like they're not going to like me. I feel like they're not going to care, or they're not going to love, or they're not going to, if I stand up for myself, it's like, I feel like a complete evil person. I don't know if you can relate with that, but listen, I feel like I have put myself through the ringer as being a people pleaser, all in the fear of feeling rejected, not enough, and abandoned. I think a lot of guys go through this, by the way. I just think that they're good at hiding it, which that also isn't good. These will formulate and ruin your relationships moving on in your life. And you got to get a little bit better at this whole people pleasing crap, because it's exhausting. If you want to feel emotionally exhausted, be a people pleaser. If you don't want to know who you are and your purpose and your mission in life, be a people pleaser. If you want increased levels of stress and anxiety, be a people pleaser. If you want to hold resentment and burnout in your own mind and body, my friend, please go be a people pleaser. But if you're looking for heightened levels of happiness, then you can step out of that people pleasing character that you hold so strong to. Your worth is more than how you make others feel. But you need to start taking care of yourself in order for everything to work out in the manner that you would like it to work out in. And let's talk about some of the practices that I've implemented in my own life that have helped me kind of own myself, you could say. Number 1 is just having self-awareness. I think the first step to anything is understanding that there's a problem to anything. If you don't recognize that there's a problem, then you just can't fix the problem. So the first step in overcoming people pleasing is recognizing and acknowledging the behavior that you are a people pleaser. You got to reflect on your own actions and motivations. Are you saying yes out of the genuine desire, or are you saying yes out of the fear of disapproval? Think about it. How many times have you been inside a meeting at your workplace and decided not to speak up? Maybe you're in a relationship where you know your truth, but yet you nod your head in agreement. Maybe you are in the political season of the United States of America, and you're battling in between who's right and who's wrong, who's good and who's evil, because if you're on one, you're against the other. And listen, I think there's good in both, and I think there's evil in both. But you should be able to speak that confidently, because you don't need someone else to approve of your own belief in order to make you feel worthy. So understanding that your first step to break free from this whole people-pleasing addiction character is you just got to be aware that and recognize and acknowledge that the behaviors that you've pushed out into the world and onto other people is a people-pleasing behavior. Now, after you realize that, wait a minute, after this episode, Tyler, I actually might be a people pleaser. Because once again, I said people pleasing is the tendency to go out of your own way to ensure that other people are happy, and often at the expense of your own needs, wants, and desires. Listen, if you've experienced emotional exhaustion, loss of identity, increased self-stress and anxiety, and or resentment and burnout, then you're probably a freaking people pleaser. So own it, accept it, be okay with it, because that's the first step toward moving on to step number 2, which is like, really, after you gain some awareness, you got to set some boundaries. Like, boundaries are kind of a big relational term, as in like everyone knows about setting boundaries. But like, let's just keep it simple. Establish clear boundaries that protect your time, your energy, and your mental well-being. These are some of the things that you got to learn to say no to that can help you to create a sense of happiness in your own life. So if you start to protect your time, it's called block time. It's self-care time. It's time to take care of you, and you protect that time, and you do not allow other people to interrupt that time. You will start to build the self-respect needed in order to say no a little bit more. Because you got to learn to say no without feeling so guilty. And this has been my problem. I want to just make everyone happy. So I want to try to do everything. And then I feel stressed and anxious and overwhelmed. And the cycle continues. The more that I say yes to other people, the less I can say no to the things I want to say no to, and less time that I have, less energy that I have, and less mental happiness that I feel. So keep it simple. How do you set boundaries? Speak your truth. Say no when you mean no. Say yes when you mean yes. Just listen to your intuition. You don't need to make it so complicated. You just need to say no when you mean no, yes when you mean yes, and move on with your day. Third big idea here is you got to prioritize self-care. I mean, when I say prioritize, I just simply mean like it becomes a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. You've got to figure out what self-care means to you and how you can make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. And what I mean by your routine, I mean every freaking single day of your life, you have to incorporate 1 to 3 ways in which you can protect your time to take care of you, to recharge, to rebuild, to re-inspire yourself, to move in happiness, with more heart, with more love, with more creative ability, with more energy, with more vitality, with more aliveness, with more confidence. If you do not prioritize protecting your time and then using that time to take care of yourself, you're going to continue to feel completely burnt out and emotionally exhausted. So let's work on that, right? You can engage in activities that nurture your mind and your body and your soul. You can do hobbies like exercise, maybe meditation, or simple just going out for a bike ride. You know, I have a friend who just bought a couple, I think it's probably like $800 bike to just like go out and just get outside a little bit more and take care of himself and disconnect from all of the digital distraction. I was like, what a beautiful idea. Maybe it's going out there to smoke a cigar. Maybe it's going out there to read a book. Maybe it's going out there to have a glass of wine. Maybe it's just work. When can you sit down to protect your time to just tune into yourself and just check in on you? Hey, how you doing? How am I mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially? You know, these are some questions. I know they sound simple, but like, are you doing it? Like simplicity or complex, you know, making something complex doesn't mean that it's good or not good. Like, I like to try to keep things simple. My life is already well overwhelming. So like when I implement different behaviors in my own life, I feel a little bit better, my friend. And I know that you can too. You know, and the last big idea here is you got to practice assertiveness. You got to learn to communicate your needs, wants, dreams, and desires more assertively. Assertiveness is, you know, kind of about expressing yourself openly and honestly while respecting others. You know, you can practice this skill in small everyday, situations to build your confidence. Practice assertiveness means you are able to stick up for you and speak your truth and to be honest without trying to be like, well, if I say that, they won't like me anymore. If I say that, I'm going to be the problem child. If I say that, I'm going to be the problem partner. If I say that, I'm going to be the problem employee. If I say that, I'm going to be the problem. Well, listen, if you're not the problem toward them, then you're going to be a problem toward yourself. And I would rather you own you and take care of you, because I guarantee you that they won't. Most people won't. So my friends, take some time to allow this to be digested. I am here to love on you, to lead you, to serve you, to equip you with the proper tools, mechanics, techniques, mindset, perspectives, to help you to transition away from maybe an identity that you don't want to relate with anymore, like the people pleaser identity. And I promise you, if you start to hold yourself more accountable, get around people that are doing the exact same thing, you'll become what you surround yourself by, and you will break free from people pleasing. My dear friend, overcoming people pleasing is not about becoming selfish or inconsiderate. It's about striking a balance between caring for others and caring for yourself. By prioritizing your own needs, I really believe that you can cultivate a more authentic, fulfilling, and well-balanced, happier life. Remember, you are worthy of happiness and respect just as much as anyone else. So reclaim your power, set healthy boundaries, and embrace your authentic self. Your quality of life will, in fact, improve, and you will find that genuine connection and fulfillment are far more rewarding than the constant approval from others. My dear friends, I hope that you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting. And if you did, please be sure to share it out with 1, 2, or 3 of your friends. And before you go, if you are part of this community under the Honey I'm Home podcast and you want me to answer your questions and spend more live quality time with me as we navigate life's greatest challenges of going from a breakup to a divorce, or to a breakthrough, or from heartbreak to happiness, or from dealing with people-pleasing behaviors to a happier quality of life, be sure to enter inside the Happy Heart Academy Inner Circle. Once again, the first 50 people that sign up will get an exclusive deal for $4.99 a month, so that you can gain the proper courses, education, workbooks, self-help trainings, my personal best-selling book, The Big Three, live weekly calls, live monthly seminars, and so much more. My dear friends, the link will be in the show notes below. And until next time, I hope that you go out there and live openly, love joyfully, and make a difference in your own world. My name is Tylerjoestratton, and this is Honey, I'm Home.